Thank you. My name is Lovemore Chinoputsa. I'm a national executive member of the MDC Alliance, led by Advocate Nelson Chamisa. I'm also a former youth leader in the movement. I want to basically respond to the Supreme Court ruling, which we noted that it is a ruling that does not go well with the majority of us as members and supporters of the Movement for Democratic Change Alliance. Simply for the first reason that we believe that the Supreme Court ruling is all the footprints and imprints of Zanu-PF. We believe that this Supreme Court ruling was made and done by Zanu-PF at Shek building with the sole intention of discrediting President Chamisa, with the sole intention of dividing the movement. We note that we've also lost our colleagues along the way. We've lost Messiah's Komichi and Monzora, who have begun to speak issues individually and in their personal capacities, while wanting to claim that they are representing the majority. We are worried that Messiah's Monzora and Komichi have never came back to the movement, to the MDC Alliance, to discuss the ruling, but have now gone to speak in their personal capacities, have gone to speak about the implications of such a ruling and wanting to claim and force it on the people. We believe that the Supreme Court ruling is just like the Constitutional Court ruling of 2018. These are mechanisms that have been used by Zanu-PF. They first refused as victory in 2018 when President Chamisa won the election, and they used the Constitutional Court. Now they've gone again to use the Supreme Court ruling to destabilize the movement and to take away the mandate that was given to President Chamisa by the people in Gweru. We believe that the MDC Alliance is now a specific entity and an entity that exists outside the MDCT, and we believe that the judgment was merely an academic judgment. It has been surpassed by the events that have happened. The MDC now is known, number one, is now known as the MDC Alliance. Number two, the MDC went to a congress in in May 2019 and elected a new leadership. So we will not be taken back to 2014. Some of us, we are leaders elected at Congress in 2014, and we served our terms from 2014 to 2019. And here we are, satisfied with what the movement has done, satisfied with the course of action that has been taken, where we now have a new leadership as constituted in Gweru. So we believe that Messiah's Monzora and Messiah's Komichi are only speaking their own personal views, which do not necessarily reflect the views of the people. If you see what they've been parroting in the past few days, you will notice that there is no organ of the party that has met either physically or made or electronically to decide on the course of action to take. So we wonder where they are taking their instructions from, and we wonder who they are really speaking on behalf of.
Okay, is there a difference between MDCT and MDC Alliance?
Definitely there is a big difference. MDC Alliance came into existence in 2018 as an electoral pact that we went into an election year, having different political parties. We had the MDCT component, we had PDP, we had MDC, we had Transform Zimbabwe and the other parties that came in to form the MDC Alliance. But following, so this was an electoral pact that we had in 2018, which we then termed MDC Alliance. But again, after the election, and when we noticed that there were shenanigans that were happening, we suspected that Mr. Monzora was now working with your Mashavides to destabilize the movement. We went a step ahead and then regularized and came up with the MDC Alliance as a political party, as a distinct political party, where all the other parties that were in the pact, in the alliance, in the electoral pact, decided to fold their parties and come together and form one thing. So we had PDP folding, we had MDC led by Professor Oshmanwe folding, we had Transform Zimbabwe refusing to be part of this. Remember, Transform Zimbabwe was part of the electoral pact in 2018, but they refused to come and join the MDC Alliance as a distinct political party. So there is a great difference between the MDC Alliance and the MDCT. And we did this because we knew very well that the MDC Alliance itself was not before the courts. What was before the courts was the MDCT. But we then realized that Zanu-PF and part of our colleagues wanted to destabilize the movement. And we went ahead of them. We made the MDC Alliance to become a full operational party with its own constitution, with its own logo, and with its own name, which is the MDC Alliance. So there's a difference. There's quite a huge difference between MDCT and the MDC Alliance.
Okay, yesterday Mr. Monzora was here and he denied that the MDC Alliance doesn't have a constitution. And you're saying that the MDC Alliance has a constitution, which is real.
That has been the treacherous nature of Mr. Monzora. Mr. Monzora is well known for not being honest. And that was one of the things that he proved that Mr. Monzora is not honest. He's not honest not only to himself, but he's also not even honest to the movement. Mr. Monzora was part and parcel of the formulation of the MDC Alliance. He pretty well knows that the MDC Alliance was put as a distinct political party on the basis that we wanted to move away from the MDCT, which was before the courts, and which we knew that Zanu-PF was interested in coming up with a different, in coming up with a divisive element within the movement. So the MDC Alliance, Mr. Monzora may want to refuse, but he was part and parcel of that. The MDC Alliance has a constitution. We cannot live for more than a year without a constitution. The constitution is there. He may not want to accept that it's there, but definitely it's there. The MDC Alliance is its own symbol, it is its own logo, and it's operating as a full-fledged political party. It went to Congress, it is there today, and it will continue to be there tomorrow.
Okay, you've brought in the issue of honestness. Yesterday, Mr. Monzora also said that Mr. Beat and company, they are not being honest to Advocate Chamisa. And you're also saying that Mr. Monzora is not, and you're coming and saying that Mr. Monzora is being not honest to himself and to the party. Where exactly, where are we? What's really going on? What's in the pot?
What is in the pot is that Zanu-PF has come on board to divide and destroy the movement. Zanu-PF has come in to try and stop. Yes, we have the evidence. Zanu-PF has come in to try and stop President Chamisa. They've done this. They've tried to destroy his political career by stealing a vote from him in 2018. They now want to destroy him by supposedly taking away the presidency which was bestowed on him by the multitudes of people that gathered in Guero. So what is there at stake? What is there in the melting pot at the moment is that we have people that are not honest to themselves, that have come up. Remember, even Vice President Nwe was clear that at some point he took Comrade Komichi and Comrade Monzora to task over allegations that they were working with Zanu-PF, and they denied that they were working with Zanu-PF, and they denied and faked loyalty that they were not in any way involved with what was happening. But what did we see? On the day of the judgment, we saw one Komichi with a well-prepared speech in his jacket, which he took from his jacket and read to the people of Zimbabwe. What time he did to prepare that speech after the judgment, from coming from the court and going outside? What time he did to prepare? How did he know that the judgment was not going to go in his favor? I mean, it was not going to go in the favor of President Chamisa. So we knew before, we just didn't have concrete evidence. But the evidence came out on its own when Messiah's Komichi and Monzora spoke to the world. It's there in the public domain. You've recorded it as journalists that they then say that they were going to abide by a court ruling, which surprisingly, Mr. Komichi himself had posted an affidavit in the courts going against appealing against the decision that had been made by the High Court. So what happened between May 2019 and March 2020 is only but Zanu-PF that then came on board, destroyed the people's movement by giving out and dishing out money, and destroying the people's movement by buying people to the side of Thokozani Kupe, who, by the way, deserted the party at its critical time when we were fighting, when our president was fighting a deadly disease, who deserted the party when we went for the elections and formed their own outfit and contested the elections. So the dishonest is there, and the dishonest is being shown by our former colleagues who have now gone on to parrot personal positions and claim that these are party positions.
Okay, Mr. Chinoputsa, you're saying that you won the 2018 elections. You're saying that Advocate Chamisa won the 2018 elections. Yesterday, Mr. Monzora was there where you're sitting, and he said that they did a workshop. They wrote a book with the sponsorship of NGO Forum on how to challenge the presidential elections. And they come up with the issue of V11s. And then there comes the time of Mr. Chamisa when he wanted to challenge who won the 2018 elections, the presidential elections, and there were no V11s. And today you're talking about V11s. And then Mr. Monzor was inside that company, and he said he advised you guys that we have lost. Where are we? What is not clear there?
What is clear is that Monzora has always wanted to be the president of the MDC by any means necessary. And when he says that he advised the party that we had lost the election, I don't remember any meeting, I don't remember any workshop that Mr. Monzora advised the party that we had lost the election. And to answer you, it is correct to say that President Chamisa won the 2018 elections but was denied his victory by a constitutional court that even refused to give us the figures up to today in terms of how many votes did Mnangagwa win these elections. So it is a fact, it remains a fact that President Chamisa won this election. It is a fact that Zanu-PF has used former colleagues to try and divide the movement. But we are ahead of them. That's why we went on and formed our movement, our MDC alliance. That's why we are here. That's why all the provinces have stated their support and allegiance to the movement led by Advocate Nelson Chamisa. That's why you would see that up to now, up to today, it is only 2 individuals that have come out in support of a ruling that we believe is just meant to divide the movement, that is meant to kill the fighting spirit within us. Instead of focusing on the challenges of the day that are there, instead of focusing on the COVID-19 that is causing harm in this country, we see individuals wanting to propagate a narrative that President Chamisa is there by deceitful means, when in fact President Chamisa was elected in 2019. I want to pose a question. If Mr. Komichi had won in Gweru in 2019, was he going to be standing where is he standing today? If Mr. Monzora had secured his Secretary Generalship post, was he going to be saying what he's saying today? So it only goes to show how power hungry these individuals are. And it only goes to show that they are parroting personal agendas and personal ambitions.
Okay, you've come up with another issue of not many numbers coming in support of Mr. Monzor and Komich. And then Mr. Monzor was there and he said Ostano Siziwa is forcing people, he's running around through the MPs, forcing them to write supporting Advocate Chamisa. Is that true?
I don't think Ostalos has become this powerful in this party. Ostalos cannot force
but
and coerce. Ostalos cannot force and coerce everyone. If he has now become this powerful that he can go around coercing each and every MP to write a letter, to coerce each and every former chairperson of the provinces to write letters, to coerce every structure of the party to write letters, then he has become powerful and he deserves to be recognized as that. But I want to believe that these are people that are realizing that no one is following them. They had budgeted for people to come out in support of them. But what the people have said is clear. We don't know where these guys are taking their instructions from. We don't know the dues that they have cut. We don't know why they want to divide the movement. And they are clear since they are the ones that voted for President Chamisa at Congress, since they are the ones that are in the structures of the party, they deserve to be heard. And it's only proper that they speak what they want. If people are being forced, I have not come across that. And if people are being forced to speak what they don't want to, I don't think we would be having the consensus that we are seeing. We would have begun to see people coming out nicodemously or otherwise to say we are being forced. But the fact that no one has come out to say, I have been forced to write a letter of support, I have been forced to write a communication to support what is happening, only shows that the president is angered within the people and that the president has the full support. And this is what matters in politics. If you have the support of the people, no matter what happens, no matter how much the opposition tries to dictate what happens in your party, if you are angered within your people, if you have people that follow you, if you have people that believe in what you stand for, you will always be on top of the situation. And that is what is happening. President Chamisa remains on top of the situation, not because he's forcing anybody, but because the people of Zimbabwe, the people of the Movement for Democratic Alliance, believe that President Chamisa is the way is the way to go, and President Chamisa is the only one that can take us forward.
Okay, in your own view, what's the implications of this court ruling in the well-beings of the party?
The party remains intact.
How?
The party remains intact. The party has clearly spoken that we are in support of President Chamisa. Every other organ of the party has spoken loudly.
Which party?
The Movement for Democratic Change Alliance. It remains intact.
Where
We
is
are not
MDC?
moved by what happens there. We are not moved by what happens to Zanu-PF. Zanu-PF has the only party that went to elections and got 45,000 votes. If Zanu-PF wants to take over the supporters of President
Everything
Chamisa,
was reversed
yes.
by the Supreme Court.
If everything was reversed by the Supreme Court, there's only one thing that was not reversed by the Supreme Court.
What is
It
that?
is the support of the multitudes of Zimbabweans to President Chamisa. The Supreme Court cannot force people to go and support an individual. They may force people to lose property. They may force people to lose assets. They may force people to lose positions that do not exist. But they cannot force the people to support a party that they don't want to follow. They will not be forced to support Zanu-PF. And so in that regard, there's nothing that is going to change. The people who remain with President Chamisa, the assets, the positions, they may go with Zanu-PF. Committee may decide to go with Zanu-PF, but it's not going to change what is on the ground. President Chamisa will remain the president of the party. Vice President Biti will remain, same as Hoshman Mube, same as Lynette Kore, and the rest of the leadership. So our party will remain intact. If anything, I think this is actually an opportunity for the party to actually rebrand and for the party to focus on building new supporters, on bringing in new people on board. This is actually, I have not spoken to President Chamisa about this, but I think it is time that even the party should consider rebranding. It is time for the party to consider taking on board other people. And I think this is a generational fight. Young people across the country, young people need to realize that the fight against President Chamisa is a fight to stop young people from taking over. It's a fight that has been done by Zanu-PF to stop President Chamisa from winning the next elections. So we now need every other young person across the political divide, across the different spectrums that we have. Young people in business, we want to see you coming on board. Young people in sports, your Tatinga Taibus, your Peter Love. The people of Matebeleland are looking for a young elephant to rescue them. Your Kestik Ovend, the future is not with Zanu-PF. The future is with the MDC. The future is with President Chamisa. So if our movement is managed for now to attract people like your Fadzai Mahere, if the movement is managed to attract legal brains like Tabanimpo, Fusu, Ashiti, to just work for the party on a free basis, what stops young people now to congregate and converge on the basis of making sure that young people are given the opportunity to lead? So we expect to see more young people. We expect to see your Briggs Bomber coming on board. We expect to see your celebrities coming on board. We want to see Pokelo Nare coming on to join the movement. We want to see, not as politicians, but we want to build a broad-based platform that will see every other young person converging on the basis that we want to deal with Zanu-PF once and for all. We want to deal with the hegemon that the old generation has had. So this is a clarion call to all young people. We cannot allow President Chamisa to be sacrificed. We cannot allow President Chamisa to be put on the altar and to be sacrificed simply because young old people do not want to let go power. Pastor Ivan Mawarin, Godfrey Tsenengam, Louis Matutu. The fight against cartels and corruption cannot be realized in Zanu-PF. It can only be realized by following President Chamisa. We want to appeal to Save Yakasukuere himself. He cannot continue to unleash or to nest an ambition of taking Zanu-PF leadership at some point. He needs to come on board and join the bandwagon that is there today. That is leading. That is a presidential candidate that is already popular with the supporters. We want to increase 2.6 million votes going forward. So I want all young people to feel galvanized, to feel that this is their time to converge around President Nelson Chamisa, not because there's anything special about President Nelson Chamisa, but because he represents the aspirations of all young people in this country, and we are bound by our youthfulness to support him.
Okay, you've talked about the issue of numbers. Who has numbers? MDC Alliance, MDCT, or Advocate Chamisa?
The numbers are with the MDC Alliance and the Chamisa brand. The Nelson Chamisa brand did very well in the last election. President Nelson Chamisa got 2.6 million. And if you look at the parliamentary vote that we got, it was way less than 2.6 million. So definitely the Chamisa brand is there, it's up there. The Chamisa brand needs to be nurtured, needs to be owned, needs to be watered so that we can win the next elections. We cannot run away from the fact that we have a very strong brand in President Chamisa.
So you're saying that Mr. Chamisa is stronger than MDC? Yes, the numbers more than
President Chamisa won more votes than the MDC.
That means what to you?
that definitely means the Chamisa brand is more popular than anything.
And is he capable of taking the country forward? Or after you say that he has got the numbers?
President Chamisa should have been in State House by now.
But
if it was not for the Constitutional Court that stopped him, President Chamisa got 2.6. You cannot contain people that have taken money. You cannot contain people that have ambitions. You cannot contain people that have been to Sangomas and Ngangas and told that they are going to take over.
We have been to Ngangas. You're bringing in a new issue. Who is attending Ngangas? Who is doing what?
People that think they have a birthright to take over the leadership of the movement.
Who is doing that?
The people that have sought out this struggle. They have been to Ngangas. We know. If you wanted it to be dead, they would have given you by a date and by place where they went and consulted Ngangas who told them that it is now their time to take over. We know people that have been working with the military intelligence that have been lying to them that this is their time to take over. So we have set out amongst ourselves, we have decided now to come out in the open and defy the movement.
Comrade, you're bringing in a new issue, the military intelligence, the Sangomas issue. Can you shed more light to what's really going on?
I'm not bringing any new issue here. A lot of people may have been shocked by what happened when Mr. Komich and Mr. Monzora came out.
Who is going to Sangomas?
Let me finish my issue. We are a strong party. We would not have been strong and be where we are if we didn't know what was being planned. So we were not shocked when Mr. Komich chose to give out his speech. We knew very well that there were things that were happening in the background. We knew very well that there were people that were working with the military intelligence. We knew very well that there were people who were working with Sangomas. So we were prepared. We knew that there were people we had sought out and we were only waiting. That's why even Vice President Ngube said that we were giving them a long rope. And for sure, the long rope was finally tied when the judgment came out.
Okay, you went for the 2019 World Congress and you lost. Aren't you think that this is the time for you to push for the extraordinary Congress so that you can have a leadership position in the
Far from it. I'm not moved by positions. I am a former youth secretary general who contested and won in 2014 and finished our term of office in 2019. If I were selfish, I would be the one clamoring to go back to my former position. But this struggle has never been about positions. It's never about positions, but proposition. Where do we want to take Zimbabwe going forward? It's a pity that people fail to get positions and they don't want to be gracious in defeat. I have been gracious in defeat. I've continued to work for the movement, and I'm not moved by the Supreme Court ruling, which can give me a position by the back door. I don't want a position by the back door. I am comfortable. I want to see Zimbabwe moving forward. I will not be tempted.
Do you think that Mr. Monzora and Mr. Monzora and Mr. Komich, they are bitter?
They are very bitter. if they had won the elections, they would not be parroting these positions they are.
Why are they doing that?
I know for a fact. I know for a fact that when you lose an election, you become bitter. And if you cannot contain your bitterness, hear my point. If you cannot contain your bitterness, you go where? If they failed to contain their bitterness, obviously, because when you present yourself for election, you want to win. But when you don't win, you're definitely bound to become bitter. But if you cannot overcome your bitterness, you'll have problems the whole of your life, thinking that probably is this person that stopped me from winning, or is this institution that stopped me from winning. Yet it is only because people have decided otherwise, or it's also because you were not supposed to get that position. So the fact that they only begin to raise their issues when they've lost an election gives us to conclude that they definitely are bitter. Remember, these are people that we've been talking to. These are people that we've been talking to, and these are people that we'll continue to talk to. We know where they stand with regards to what they feel with what happened at Congress.
Okay, it is well known that MDC people are intolerant if it comes to people who betray their leadership. We can give the examples of Dr. Mangoma, what happens to him, Dr. Kupe, what happened to him in Boera. Now there is Mr. Komishi, there is Mr. Monzora. What do you think about what is going to happen to them? Because yesterday he was here and he's saying that I'm being insulted every day. Mr. Komishi was here in the afternoon saying I'm being insulted and I'm being followed every time. What's really going on?
No. People should not see shadows. People should not see shadows. The fact that you correctly said that they came here, they are doing their business, nothing has happened to them, their physical security is guaranteed, speaks to volumes to the tolerant nature of us as people in the movement. We respect their personal views that they want to follow, they want to go this route. What we cannot do is to stop in their way of where they want to go. But what we will not do is we will not insult anyone, we will not fight with anyone. We believe we only met in the struggle, we prosecuted the struggle together, and when they decided to leave the struggle, we'll just bid them farewell, like they've done. We have no qualms against them. We believe it's their democratic right to sell out. They will continue to sell out. We don't care, we don't mind. But what we are saying is, this struggle will continue unabated. We're going to bring in new people. These are not the first people to sell out. These are not the first people to leave the party. People have left the party, but the party has always remained strong. Because they are people that would have given their positions and their commitment to support a certain cause. And we have people that are doing specifically that.
So you're saying that Mr. Monzora and Mr. Komish, they are sellers?
They sold out the struggle.
Why?
Because they have gone into bed with Zanu-PF that wants to kill and destroy the movement.
They are supporting the... Do you have evidence about them?
We know. Watch this space. Watch this space. What is going to happen when they finish their own Congress is that there's going to be a government of national unity by Mnangagwa and these guys. So what do you call that?
Do you have evidence with what you're talking?
I wouldn't come here and speak things that I don't know.
Where is this all happening?
Chief, these things are happening in this country. That's why you would see the bravado that you saw on those on our former colleagues' faces.
This is a new issue you're taking in. Are they having meetings, Mr. Mnangagwa, President Mnangagwa?
I challenge them to deny that they've been in contact with Emerson Mnangagwa. And then we'll start from there.
And they've been in your party. Why didn't you you come out?
We were waiting for this day. We knew it was coming to this.
Why waiting for this day?
Because we wanted.
It was going to destroying.
It's not destroying the party. These are two individuals that have now left the party. If we had chased them away, the next thing that we were going to say was, this party is not tolerant. This party is cooking up stories. But here they are now. They've chosen to go their own route. They've chosen to go on their own. If we had chased based on the intelligence that we had received, we were going to say this party is not tolerant. But we gave them a long rope, and for sure it was a long rope.
Okay, you're a senior member in the party. Do you think that it is a good move for Advocate Chamisa to sit down with Mr. Komish, Dr. Kupe, Mr. Monzora, and map the way forward so that MDC can be a strong party?
That remains the alternative. This is what was supposed to happen from the start.
But calling for the extraordinary Congress.
No. That's a different board game together. You are talking of sitting down together and discuss. President Chamisa should remain open to talking to any Zimbabwean that wants to contribute meaningfully to the fight against the dictatorship. Many more people are going to be coming and knocking on the door of President Chamisa, and it remains his responsibility as our leader to engage those people. The debate that you will not be pushed into, the debate that you will not go into, is whether we're going to hold an extraordinary Congress or not, because that is not there. But if Mr. Monzora today comes and says he wants to apologize and come back to the movement, the doors remain open for him to do that. Many people have left the party and came back. And this is what we were taught by President Changirai, that we do not need to leave out anybody who wants to fight. So if Zanu-PF decides she wants to come back to the movement, the door still remains open. What we will not entertain is this discussion around an extraordinary Congress that does not exist.
Why will we not entertain that?
Why should we entertain things that do not exist?
But they are saying it's in the constitution.
Which constitution? The MDC alliance does not have any outstanding extraordinary Congress to hold. We cannot be sacrificed. We cannot be crucified over the inadequacies of the succession matrix that was there in the MDCT. This is not President Chamisa's fault. This is not President Chamisa's problem. The fact that the MDC collectively we didn't have a clear succession matrix cannot continue to haunt us, cannot continue to haunt President Chamisa, who has gone on to start a new thing. President Chamisa is now leading MDC Alliance, which is different from the MDCT, which is different from the MDC that was there in 1999.
And they are saying that MDC Alliance was formed when a number of parties came together. And are you saying that you are no longer part of the MDCT and you're not part of the MDC?
The MDCT contested and got to 45,906 votes in the last election under COVID. What we have is an MDC alliance. And the MDC alliance is the party that is going to take us forward.
elaborate. I'm not understanding something. You're talking about MDC Alliance. There is a bridge. We need to have a bridge. There's a gap. Can you take me over?
There is no gap.
Can you take me over
There is no
from
gap.
being MDCT to MDC Alliance? Take me through.
After the elections of 2018, all the parties folded and came up to one strong movement, which is the MDC Alliance. When we went into the 2018 elections, it was an electoral pact of 7 different political parties. After the elections, we decided to disband the political parties that are there. I'll give you an example, and he has been very clear about it. Mr. David Cotter has never been a member of the MDCT, but today he is in the MDC Alliance, and the Treasury General for that matter. So what it means is basically the animal that we have is no longer MDCT, but we have MDC Alliance. So we had 7 political parties that contested, and then coming up and deciding that they want to continue with the flirtation that had started at the elections. And political parties definitely default. That's why you would see Transform Zimbabwe refused and went back. But Transform Zimbabwe remains one of the parties that participated in the electoral pact. But it's no longer part of the MDC Alliance.
Okay, we would now like to conclude our issue. Does MDC still believe in constitutionalism?
Definitely. We believe in constitutionalism. That's why we held our Congress. And that's why we will continue to hold our Congresses at the rightful time. After the next 5 years, in 2024, we are going to go and elect a new leader. If anyone wants to contest in that election, he will definitely be free to contest. If anyone wants to become president of the MDC Alliance, it will be up to them, it will be up to everybody to contest. What we don't want is to be forced into arrangements of Zanu-PF. What we don't want to be forced is to be forced into arrangements of judicial rulings that negate the fact that there's been movement, that do not realize that there's been movement from what was there. There was MDCT in before, but now we have what we are calling the MDC Alliance, and will not be forced to go there. And the fact that we refuse to accept a ruling that is wrong does not mean that we are not constitutional. We will continue to respect just rulings. As long as we have rulings that are not just, we're not going to respect them.
You think that everything that goes by your favor?
No, it's not about my favor. I said just. So it means I may lose, I may win. I didn't say when we win. I said if we believe that these things are not just, why should we be forced? In any case, the MDC Alliance that we're talking about here was never before the courts, and it will not be before the courts anytime soon. So the MDC Alliance will continue to exist. If anyone wants to fight on the corner of MDCT, if anyone wants to fight on the corner of Zanu-PF, they are free to do so. And we've allowed Mr. Komich and Mr. Monzora to do the same. Us who believe in President Chamisa will continue with President Chamisa. And not because there's anything special about him, but it is because the people of Zimbabwe realize he is our best foot forward. The people of Zimbabwe are coming together and saying, President Chamisa, you carry enough gravitas to take us forward. We want to be, and that is the basis of politics. Because politics is all about numbers. President Chamisa is commanding the numbers. President Chamisa is able to galvanize the base. President Chamisa will win. Is definitely going to win the fight of who has the numbers in this country. And believe you me, before they realize it, both Zanu-PF and their MDC Zanu will be history.
Okay, in conclusion, what should you like to say to the millions of supporters of MDC?
Your party is intact. Your president is there. He's raring to go. We are just waiting for COVID-19 to finish. We're hoping that we remain responsible enough so that we are there when we go past this pandemic. Your movement will continue to exist. President Chamisa will continue to provide the necessary leadership in tackling Zanu-PF. And President Chamisa will not relent on his responsibility to liberate the people of Zimbabwe. We will continue to talk about the issues that we've talked about. We will continue to rally behind President Chamisa. And all we ask for you is to continue to believe in President Chamisa. President Chamisa, whether he has the assets or not, whether he has the buildings or not, will continue to have your support as Zimbabweans. And we are appealing for you to continue supporting your president and to continue showing your middle finger to Zanu-PF and to to continue showing that you will not be taken for a ride, that people who have taken money cannot continue to confuse and divide you, and that we will be able to follow the regulations and the organs of the party. Obviously, the organs of the party are going to meet after this pandemic is over, and they're going to chart the way forward going forward. But we believe that with President Chamisa, we are in safe hands. We believe that with President Chamisa, we are doing which we're supposed to be doing, which is to liberate the people of Zimbabwe. And Zanu-PF will definitely run for cover when we come out to defend that which rightfully belongs to us.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Chinoputsa.
Thank you very much.